I want to thank Mayor Tory. I want to thank him for his partnership, and I want to thank him for having our regular meetings, and I will now let him make a few comments.
Well, thank you, Premier. I am very happy that we've come here today on the day after we reached and released an agreement with respect to how we move transit forward, because, as I've often said, if we want to keep Toronto as one of the most livable cities in the world, and that's a point of pride for Toronto and for Ontario and for Canada, transportation, public transportation, connecting people to jobs, connecting people to opportunity, connecting neighborhoods that are presently marginalized, and, for that matter, relieving congestion that is a scourge on livability and on family life and so on, it remains a key priority. And in order to address that, we can do various things to help traffic move better in Toronto, but the number one thing we're going to do, and I'm absolutely determined in partnership with the Premier to do it and the federal government, is to build transit and to get on with building transit. Yesterday, some people came forward in light of this agreement and said, well, we should study this more. The time for studying is over. We've studied and we've studied and we've redebated and redecided so many times now that I think it must make the head of the people we represent spin. Their heads collectively spin. And the time is to get on with it. And yes, are there changes to the things we're doing from what might have been contemplated at some point in time by me or somebody else? Of course, because we're in a partnership with two other governments. We're doing the best for the people, something that's going to work and get done. And that's the most important thing. And the result here, let's make no mistake about it, is billions of dollars of additional new investment in new transit that is going to move people. And in the case of SmartTrack, for example, all kinds of people will be able to get on trains, on heavy rail, inside Toronto to travel where they need to go. Trains that, by and large, mostly in the past, were confined to moving people in and out of the city, but not inside the city. It's going to make a huge difference. The Eglinton West LRT is going to connect the airport and a huge job hub that exists in Mississauga to the City of Toronto and vice versa. That's good for people having access to opportunity. That's good for this region together, where we're going to go out and compete with other places in the world to get jobs. And to have that transit connectivity is going to be important. And so this afternoon, we are going to have a debate at our Executive Committee at the City Hall to move this forward. It will go hopefully on to the City Council to be approved next week. And I acknowledge the fact there is another debate to come, which I've openly acknowledged. In fact, I'm the one that has set the timetable to make sure that it occurs. And that is the other debate that has to happen, which is how we produce the necessary revenues to make sure all of these projects can happen in terms of the city's share, the city's fair share. And so that debate will indeed happen, and we will move forward from there and get this done. And in the end, I will just conclude where I started. The most important thing people tell me vis-a-vis congestion, vis-a-vis connecting them to opportunity, and on the subject of public transportation generally is get on with it. Get it done. Get building it. Stop squabbling between the governments. Stop squabbling amongst yourselves. Build transit. And we have a great partnership with the Premier, a great partnership with the Prime Minister, and we're going to get on with building transit. Thank you.
Great.
The implication of a lot of these questions is that we are doing Regional Express Rail, SmartTrack, or the Relief Line. We are doing both at the same time. But the Relief Line has always been understood, and I invite you to ask the officials, anybody you want, what the expected completion date is for the Relief Line. We're doing the work now. The province and the federal government have invested substantial amounts of money in getting on with the design. They haven't even picked the route yet for the downtown Relief Line. And so I'm just saying to you that this notion that is put out by some people to serve their own interest, to say that it is somehow a choice between SmartTrack, RER, or the Relief Line is false, and that we are doing both, but one has always been a much longer term project because it was much further back in the process of design and construction. And so it will get done. And the whole idea of SmartTrack RER is to get something done much sooner that is going to allow people inside the city to have another transportation option available to them. And that work is going ahead, as is the work on the downtown Relief Line, but it's always been a project that is quite a bit further out, and I invite you to ask the officials about that to confirm what I'm saying. We're doing both.
Would you say this is a bad deal for the city, that we are on the hook for far too much money?
We are contributing what I think is a fair share of the construction and other costs of these different transit projects. But I would say to those people who have nothing but criticism about the plans that I'm putting forward, what's their plan? because at the moment, they don't have a plan. They're just, content to criticize the plan that I'm putting forward, and my plan is based on one simple proposition. We need to build transit, and we need to build it now to stop what is happening to our city with respect to congestion, to unleash the full potential of the economy, to stop environmental degradation. We've got to get on with it. They don't have a plan, so they're just busy criticizing, and that's fine, but I've got to get on with building transit. That's the job I was elected to do.
During your campaign, you said that SmartTrack would be funded using TIFs, that it wouldn't require new taxes. Now, the scaled-down version of the plan with only 6 new stops, we found out yesterday, it can't be paid for using TIF, that it will require either property tax increases or another new form of revenue. So would you concede that this is not the plan that you put to voters during your campaign?
I have already acknowledged that there have been differences. I've acknowledged it today, and I've acknowledged it before today, that there are differences between the plan as was articulated during the election when we did not have the benefit of all the studies, the detailed studies that took years of time to perform by experts in the field, and we've had to make changes. I think that's the responsible thing to do. But I would point out that what I said during the course of the election campaign is we would not raise property taxes to build SmartTrack. And in the report yesterday, people conveniently left out the fact that while it made reference to the possibility that you could increase property taxes, it also said that there could be other revenue streams needed, or at least that could be developed to pay our share. And that is precisely why about 2 or 3 weeks from now, we will be having a debate at the City Hall, which I initiated, to talk about those other revenue streams that will pay for transit and housing. And so to me, this is all happening in a very transparent and open way. And of course, there are changes that take place in huge projects like this. So to me, this again is just people that want to ask these questions, and it's fine, but I remain focused on getting the project done and having people riding on those trains inside the City of Toronto to relieve the unbearable nightmare they often face in getting to and from work or to and from school or the library or whatever. That's what I'm focused on doing.
Tools that you think the city should be using, and is that something that you discussed today if it requires provincial change?
I mentioned, in the spirit of complete disclosure, I mentioned the hotel tax today. You'll be bored hearing me mention that again, only because it's one where we've talked about it before. And the Premier, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but she's indicated some willingness to consider that and go along with that. But with respect to the other revenue measures, as much as you ask me week after week, which are my favorites, which one do I pick, what do I want to draw out of the hat, we're awaiting a report from our professional public servants on this. It's coming in about 10 or 14 days. We will have the report. I will then make my own thoughts known on that in terms of what I would like to see us do. But we're waiting for the proper analysis to be done on the KPMG report. And as soon as that is done, give me a reasonable time to read the staff report, and I will have some comments for you that will answer that question.
Will the Liberal Party pay Pat Sorbera's legal bills?